Hello, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the final episode of the Cathy Watchcast of Season 1 of Rings of Power, where we're going to cover episodes 7 and 8.
Yay!
We just got back into it. We just watched it this Sunday morning, Sunday after episode 8 dropped. We've been on vacation for a little while. I uploaded that YouTube video or episode just before we left the house and went to the mountains. Were you reminded of Lord of the Rings when we went to the mountains?
No, I didn't really think about it.
I was thinking about it. So, like I said, we just now watched episode 7 and 8. Episode 7 here, according to Wikipedia, is called The Eye. Which,
Eye.
I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
I know why episode 8 is called Alloyed. I know why that's called that, but The Eye, I'm not so sure. So, coming off the last episode, basically, with the big eruption of Mount Doom, kind of the pieces are being put into place of this becoming Mordor. And we open up episode 7 with Galadriel laying in the ash of and destruction of the city, or the little town that they just got done defending and thought they had won. But they didn't. Did they?
No, they didn't. They did not win.
Are you excited?
Yes.
You like about to fall asleep?
I am a little sleepy, but I'll make it through.
Well, we get to Galadriel finds Theo in the burning of the city, or burning of the town. And that for some reason they go off on their own. I'm not sure why, because it seems like just mere feet away, other people were dying and being rescued, and the Queen's there, and Elendil's there, and Isildur's there. They're all, trying to rescue other people.
Yeah, you'd think that they would all go together or something.
Yeah, they go off on their own. And then we see like I said, like feet away, Isildur and his buddy, I can't remember his buddy with the big curly hair. Mm-hmm. His commander, I guess.
Yeah, he was like caught under this thing, and they broke him free, and then Isildur saw his friend who was like dead.
Yeah, his name started with O or something.
Mm-hmm.
But they're rescuing people from burning houses, basically. Mm-hmm. And his friend dies, the blonde one with the long blonde hair.
Yeah.
And we see the Queen. She's helping out just as much as anybody. She gets a face full of fucking burning coals, which will come into play a little bit later. And we also see Isildur run into a house to try to save someone, and the house collapses on him. So seemingly he's dead. That's the last we see him in the 2 episodes.
Yep, we don't see him again.
Yes. And Galadriel and Theo are kind of roaming on their own. This is when I think Galadriel sees a lot of herself in Theo, because he's like, I want to kill. You've killed orcs. That's good. She's like, don't let dark deeds become good in your heart, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And she's just giving him all this like philosophical wisdom or whatever.
And she gives him a sword.
Yes.
And I guess he decides that he is a soldier.
Yeah, he wants to be a soldier. And they kind of get found by some orcs, kind of, sort of, but they hide, and the orcs walk away. I think that whole scene of them separating from the rest of everybody else is maybe they were just trying to show Galadriel. The show was trying to let Galadriel see how she'd been acting the past couple episodes when she sees someone else acting the same way, or starting to act the same way. Does that make sense?
I mean, I guess. It's not the same.
Well, she could see him going down the same path as her. This is how it starts for him. Because he's like, he wants to fight. He wants to kill everybody. But we see Ellendale, which during this process of watching these 2 episodes, I finally fucking remember that fucker's name. Isildur's father is Ellendale.
Oh, yeah.
The captain
the
of the
subtitles help.
Yes. There, he's, watching all the people walk down the path toward their encampment, leaving, the burning ash. And he sees his son's horse because it's got a scar on it. But his son's not riding it. And then he sees the queen and the guy with the hair.
Yeah, Isildur's friend.
Yeah, and they're walking alone. And they don't show it, but they're basically like, yeah, your son's dead. Like, he's not with us.
Yeah.
And then a little bit further on, we see that
Ellendale starts blaming himself for rescuing the elf because he's sort of connecting that.
Well, before that, we see he has put the queen on his horse. The queen's asking, when will we get there? And he says it's just over this ridge. She's saying when will we leave all this smoke? And everyone stops. Well, the Ellendale and the horse and the curly haired guy stops, and she realizes she fucked up, the queen. She says, when did we leave the smoke? And Ellendale's like, we left it over a mile ago.
Well, another thing that he noticed too was there was like a branch that was about to hit her in the face, and she didn't even
move.
Try to move it all. It didn't hit her in the face, but any normal person would have dodged it or something. And I think that's when he was like,
yeah. So she's blind.
Thought that was weird.
She's blind now, and she urges them to keep moving so no one else finds out, even though it seems like everyone's going to know by the end of the
yeah, because she starts wearing a blindfold.
Yeah, so it's not like she kept it a secret for all of 5 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that. And then she said all she sees is gray, which I guess is why she thought she was still in smoke. But her father had told her that all that awaited her in Middle Earth was darkness.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think it quite meant this, but it all made sense. Maybe her dad knows what he's talking about.
Yes. And I can't remember what order these things happened in. But we do see Galadriel come back to the camp. And Theo, Theo's he wanders around. He's looking for his mother. He's looking for Arendelle, which is the other elf.
Arendelle.
Arendelle.
That's what we just called the other guy.
Ellendale.
It's like the same name.
No. Imagine the name Aaron and the name Ellen. Put deal at the end.
Okay.
Arendelle. Ellendale.
Okay.
Do you want to look it up right now?
No.
Do you think I'm wrong?
No.
Anyway. She's pissed. Anyway. He goes into a little, I guess a little hospital type area where they're just treating everybody inside a tent. And he thinks he sees his mother's hair underneath a death sheet or whatever because it's covering her face. And then his mother comes from behind and grabs him. And Arendelle's there too. And it might be
Arendeer.
It's just a little happy ending. Happy ending from that story. They all get it back together.
Mm-hmm.
And Galadriel goes to meet the queen. And the queen basically says, we're leaving now, but I will be back. She gives an oath that Numenor will come back. Like, she's pissed. Apparently she wants to fucking fight somebody over this. And so...
Which is interesting because she was so kind of fearful about the whole thing to begin with. And now she's like, I'm coming back.
Yes, so...
But it didn't seem like Ellen Deal wanted to do that.
Which, that that doesn't really come to a head later on, but that kind of somehow gets resolved later on. But in that last episode. But then we go to Nori and Poppy, and they call him Stranger in the credits. They're about to come upon their orchard or whatever, or the grove that they're meant to go to. That's where they're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And Poppy's like, "Oh, you smell that smoke? Like they're baking cakes already, or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And they make it just over the bend to see that the grove is basically burnt to shit. It's the fucking fire from the Mount Doom eruption reached that far and hit a bunch of the trees, and the trees are fucked. But seems like Nori and Poppy seem to think that the stranger could help. Like they kind of urge him to help one of the trees, see if he can bring it back to life. And he goes and he basically hugs it and talks some language.
And a branch falls off, and it almost falls on Dilly, which is Nori's little sister, I guess. And
Nori runs,
and it actually falls on both of them, but they're okay.
They're okay, but that's kind of the last straw for the Harfoots.
They think this stranger is dangerous.
Yeah, I think they like him. They think he's probably a good guy, but he's dangerous because they don't like immediately like kick him out. They're like, have the leader send you on his way. Like he shows them where his stars are at, and or the stars he's looking for, which way he should go, and stranger seems like, okay, well, I guess that's what I have to do.
Right. And I guess some time passes and they're asleep or whatever, and Poppy's like munching on this apple, and Nori sees her do it, and she's like, "Well, we need to save them apples. There ain't that many." And Poppy's like, "Well, wait till you see." And then it's like very luscious with.
Yeah, they're in their little camp, like a
little hut or something.
Yeah, a little hut on wheels. But yeah, she gets out. The grove is regrown. Everyone's just grabbed a bunch of apples. I'm like, you're just going to live off apples for a few months? Like, that's a lot of apples they were pulling down.
Mm-hmm.
And and it also, like before that, when you see the stranger leaving, you see like a little, on the tree he was trying to heal, you see a little sprout growing on the side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning he's like, yes, this is his doing. He did this. And so they...
Well, then the creepy thing comes in, no?
Yeah. Well, no.
The creepy people?
No. Poppy goes off to get water. Everyone's getting some water out of the river so they can drink.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees a footprint of a big person. And she runs off. And it's the three... I forget what we called them in the last episode that we saw them in. But the three, like, people in white. The people who were going after... the stranger, the guy who fell from the sky. They found the Harfoots here,
and they look very scary.
Yes, and so they're very close to the camp. They go in. All the Harfoots are hiding, and they're looking around. They don't see the Harfoots at first. They have decided that he went that way. We're going that way. That's when Nori decides, no, I'm going to help this guy. And she jumps out of her hiding. She says, no, you're wrong. He went that way. And she points in a different direction. And she turns around and they're gone. And they didn't just leave. They're like on top of her basically. And like one of them like grabs like a little fruit from her little half hat she has on, whatever. Did you see that? Like they're above her, like they reach up and like grab one of the little cherry tomatoes or whatever's growing out of her head.
I don't remember that.
Anyway, they're there.
But okay.
And just like they're about to descend on Nori, that's when the rest of the Harfoots come out, and her father has a stick on fire and says something like, "If you touch her, I'll brain you," or something like that.
I'll burn you or something.
No, he says brain, like he's gonna beat him. And I couldn't tell which one was the leader, but the one who has all the magic powers just basically grabs.
The bald one?
Yeah, well, she's not bald. She has
Shaved
a crew
head.
cut. She grabs the fire with her hand, then the fire's in her hand, and she blows it away. And like, in one of the kind of worst special effects things I've seen in the whole show, like all their little caravans erupt into flame, and it just seemed like they all had little bombs with timers on them that all went off at the same time. Like they literally just all went off at the same time. It just seemed unnatural. I don't know. What do you think?
I thought it looked fine. I didn't really think about it.
It was definitely it wasn't CG or it was a practical effect, but it's just the timing of it, just like they all went off at once, and I was like, really? It just seems so mechanical.
I didn't think about that.
But
yeah, that's pretty devastating for that to happen.
Yeah.
But then they just left them, so they didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, they go off to find the guy, the stranger. It's pretty devastating to the Harfoots. It's like 2 times in a row they're getting fucking fucked in this episode. Now, since they've realized that the grove has regrown because of the stranger, and the stranger's now in stranger danger because of these 3, Nori decides that she's going to go help him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Poppy says she's going to go with them.
And then Nori's dad and mom.
No, her dad don't come. This is just her mom. And the leader of the Sodek.
And Melva. Don't Melva come?
No, it's only 4 of them.
No.
It's Nori, Poppy, Sodek, and Nori's mom. And they decide that they're going to go together to see if they can warn the stranger that these 3 are after him. We also see, going back to the encampment of men there, the Numenorians, Galadriel. I forget how the scene plays out. Maybe it was Brownwind says something like, "What of my king?" or whatever, and they're like, "What?" It's like, "Where is he?" I'm talking about Halbrand.
Mm-hmm.
So that Halbrand has been. They said they found him on the side of the road like this. Arendir says yestereve. I don't know what that means, but maybe last night.
Yesterday evening.
Maybe, but
or the eve of yesterday, just the day before.
Yeah, he's got a big wound on his chest or his stomach, and Galadriel's like, "This requires Elvis medicine," and they basically dope him up enough to take a horse ride to Eregion, which is an Elvish kingdom close by. It's basically where Elrond was held up while he was having his different conversations with Durin, because Eregion's like right beside Khazad-dûm, which is the kingdom of the dwarves of Durin.
Mm-hmm.
So they ride. It's a 6-day journey. So, and what of Elrond and Durin? Elrond is now met with Durin III, which is the king. Mm-hmm. He's in the meeting. It's him and Durin IV and 2 other guards. And he's basically telling them, it's like, if you let us have access to the Mithril, we will provide you with all this stuff, gain something, like a bunch of stuff that you could probably only get outside of a mountain.
Yeah, I guess so.
For 5 centuries.
That's a long time.
Yes, well, it's a blink of an eye for an elf, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guards says they call it stone tongue or whatever. And he's like, that's a long time, how they expected to keep that promise. And Elrond's like, well, you could trust a promise from me. And the king's like, why should I trust an elf? He's like, well, you shouldn't trust an elf, you should trust me because I'm a half elf. I can see what elves do not see in themselves. Or something like that, which I don't.
What does that even mean?
If he told me that, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Yeah.
You gotta give me some collateral here. But Elrond leaves. He wants to just talk. Durin wants to talk to Durin. King wants to talk to the prince. And he basically says, no, I'm not going to let him have access to the Mithril. Why should I risk dwarf lives for elf lives? Their fate was sealed long ago by people smarter than I. That's basically what he says. And Durin, the 4th is like, well, he's my friend. I should just swat his hand away while he's drowning or whatever. And Durin's like, I can't. It's not going to happen. So we cut back to Durin and his wife, which I forget her name. And they're arguing. Not really arguing. They're just mad. They both wanted
to help.
And now they can't do anything. And we see Elrond walk in, and they don't even say anything. Durin just looks at him, and Elrond knows that the answer is no, so he has to prepare to leave. And he especially says goodbye, or whatever the word he says.
Starts with an N.
Yeah.
But then that leaf from the tree is on the table sitting next to Mithril.
Because that's what the king was looking at. He was looking at it was a leaf from the tree of, wasn't Lothlorien, what was it? Linden, where Gil-galad lives. And it had the black shit all over it. Now Durin the Fourth has it. Or does Elrond lay it on the table?
I can't remember I just know the leaf and the Mithril end up beside each other, and the Mithril, I guess, causes the black stuff, the evil, to fade away.
It heals the tree, which causes Durin notices, his wife notices, he calls out to Elrond, and they basically...
Next thing you know, they're in the mine
together.
They're
in the mine by themselves, and they're going to mine it. And
they find it.
Yes.
And there seems to be a lot of it.
Yeah, it was one of those... That was another strange scene to me, because it's like this perfect little triangle Durin cuts out of the wall to reveal this gigantic chasm full of veins of mithril. It looks like it's a perfect little triangle. I was like, what?
Yeah, and everybody's looking in there.
Yeah,
like an exhibit.
Yes, and
but somebody walks in on them, and it's King Durin.
King Durin. He
wonder what he was doing down there in the first place. Maybe he felt the tremors. I don't know.
Yeah, because it was tremoring a lot when they were down there. Also, they have Durin and Elrond have a conversation where Durin says that there's a secret name that elves have for the individual that is only revealed to their family, and it seems like he's about to tell Elrond his secret name, but Elrond stops him and says, after the breach or something like that, he says,
the far side or whatever.
Wait to the far side.
What is that? I don't even know what that means.
I don't know. Maybe till after this whole mess is behind them.
Maybe.
But yeah, the king is there. He's behind them, and he's not happy. He orders the guards to get Elrond out of here, and he basically gets kicked out of the kingdom again. He takes the leaf. He orders the mine to be sealed, the mithril mine. He takes the leaf, and the healed leaf, which he sees is healed. I don't know why he's like, I guess he doesn't care. But
I guess not.
He throws it into the little triangle hole, and it falls, 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 until it lands on the ground and immediately catches fire, and you see a Balrog. Looking just like the Peter Jackson movie Balrogs. And I imagine it's the same Balrog that Gandalf fights in Fellowship of the Ring. I think. So that's where the Wikipedia article says it ends. I want to make sure we're not missing anything. I think that's everything. What do you think? Oh, yeah. We cut back to the burnt village. You see Andor there. First, Andor. The guy we thought was Sauron.
Adar.
Adar. How are you remembering these names now?
I don't know. The subtitles help.
He's there. Probably should be chewing ice on a microphone. He's there. He's still alive, and the orcs are there, and he tells them that you don't have to wear your sun caps on, or whatever he says. So you ain't got to wear that anymore. You ain't got to worry about it. You can walk in the sun now. And they're chanting his name.
Yeah.
And he looks out at what eventually, I guess, will become Mount Doom. In this Wikipedia article, they call it Orodruin. but I think it's not good. And it shows a little wall, not a wall of text, but a little article of text at the top left of the screen. It says the Southlands, and that fades and it becomes Mordor. So it's official. This area is now Mordor. And that's how the 7th episode ends, leading us into the last episode. So what do you think of episode 7?
I remember feeling like, how are they going to tie everything up?
Did you think it was, well, I mean...
I guess not everything's tied up.
No, it's not.
So... But I remember thinking that.
So, I thought it was cool. It definitely seems like more stuff happens in the next episode. I don't know. In the previous episode too, like with all the fighting and everything, and the big, literally explosive ending. This one seemed more.
Setting the scene
For the next episode and
the next big thing,
and wrapping up the loose ends of the last episode a little bit. So a little bit more laid back, a little bit more lean, but it did have a lot of Elrond and Durin, which was fun.
Yeah,
They might be the best characters in the whole series. What do you think?
I like Galadriel.
She's your favorite? Mm-hmm. Okay, so episode 8 is called Alloyed. And we know why it's called that, don't we? Cathy shook her head no. Why don't you know?
Because they're making the rings.
Anyway, so Galadriel, it opens with Galadriel taking Halbrand to Eregion, and she immediately runs into Elrond and Celebrimbor, which is Elrond's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Last I saw you on your ship back to
I'm sure he was very surprised.
to Valinor or whatever. And she said, you need to help this guy out. He's my friend or whatever. And then we see Elrond and Galadriel talking, and he says something like, I should have never let you on that ship. I should have listened to you.
And she said she didn't feel worthy enough to go to Valinor, I guess, so she jumped off and swam.
But yeah, I don't know why Elrond would feel that way, because he doesn't know anything about what's going on in the Southlands. All he knows is all he knows is that the Elvish people might be dying, and he needed that mithril. I don't know how Galadriel would have helped that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why he felt that way. Maybe he just felt like everything went to pieces and he could have used her help, because when they sent her off, they were like, oh, everything's perfect, everything's fine.
Yes.
It's not fine.
Yes. They're basically, Elrond is waiting for, what's his butt to come back? What's his name? What's the king's name? Forget his name.
Gagliad?
No. Gilgalad. It's Gilgalad. Waiting for him to come back. Basically, just so they could tell him about his failure. And this had to happen before that, because why would they come up with this theory? Anyway, I'm just going to say it. We see Halbrand in Celebrimbor's workshop.
So is it Celebrimbor or Celebrimbor?
Every time they say a C as the beginning of an elf's name, it's always with the K sound.
You said Celebrimbor earlier.
It's Celebrimbor.
Okay.
Celebrimbor.
Okay.
Celebrimbor.
Okay.
Celebrimbor. Anyway, Halbrand's in Celebrimbor's workshop, and Celebrimbor's there too, but he's kind of like in another room, and he hears people walking around. He's like, who goes there? What are you doing? And it's Halbrand, and he's up. He seems
a lot better.
Also, he's dressed in black. And he tells him that his master, he used to talk about the great works of Celebrimbor and the things he would make and the mastery he had over metal and blah, blah, blah. And basically Celebrimbor gives them the rundown of what they need to do. They need this mithril to help them out. They only have this much. And Halbrand basically tells them, hey, what if you mix it with other metals to
enhance its power or amplify it or
stretch it out a bit more, because you only have so much. And you can use other metals to make more of it. So that's when Celebrimbor and Elrond and Galadriel had their meeting with Gil-galad and tell him that we want to make a crown out of this.
And he's like, no, we don't have enough time.
Yeah, we don't have enough time. He doesn't want that crown on his head because they say, he's basically like, who's going to put this crown on? And Elrond's like, you. And he's like, oh. And they basically want it to be a crown so it can be a circular item so the light can reflect on itself and be never ending and blah, blah, blah. And he says no. He says, no, we do not have time, we're leaving. And as he's leaving with his guard, Elrond runs up to him and says, he says, give me 3 weeks. He says, you owe it to me, give me 3 weeks, you owe it to me. Gilgalad's like, I owe you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, do it because I asked, do it because we're friends, do it because you told me, no hope is meager unless it's, or whatever. No hope is hope. You told me that.
Mm-hmm.
So this show does this a lot where it's like, please do this for me. And it's like, silence. They cut and then they're doing it. So the answer was obviously yes, but you never actually see him say it. They did the same thing earlier with Elendil asking about his son, Isildur. Like, where's my son?
That's true. They make you connect the dots.
Yeah, so they cut to the Harfoots. Basically, they have followed we cut to the stranger. We see the stranger first. He's got his apple that Nori gave him. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last episode. Nori gave him an apple before he left.
Mm-hmm. Which was very nice of her because they didn't have a lot of food at that point.
Yes. He has his apple. He starts to see a figure running around in his peripheral vision. He drops his apple. He goes to run after his apple.
Figure takes his apple.
Figure picks up his apple. The figure pulls off his hood and it's revealed as Nori. The stranger seems relieved, I guess. But then Nori's...
It's not Nori.
Then Nori's eyes turn white. Like the short-haired people dressed in white. And turns out she can shapeshift, and it's her. And the other two come out of the darkness too, and they are very happy to see the stranger. And they are like, hey, it's you. You're Lord Sauron.
And then everybody's like, or at least I was like, what? That's not Sauron. Can't be.
Well, they're like, you're Lord Sauron. And we're here to serve you. And the stranger, by the end of this episode, he is talking like a person. In the middle of this episode, he is not.
Pretty quick.
Yeah,
it was very strange.
At this point in the episode, he still is not. He's like,
and now he's like talking so eloquently, like he's been doing it for years.
It's like, what? I don't know. And they basically tell him that they tell the stranger, like, wherever you've been, they have veiled your mind. We were going to take you back to the east, to Rune, R-U-H-N.
Yeah, which I think he's been looking for over there because it's like the star pattern, which is some kind of weird hat thing.
Yes, it's called the Hermit's Hat.
Hermit's Hat.
Like I believe I said it in one of the past episodes, that one of the ladies was carrying a big metal circular thing that had the same constellations that he is looking for, which is the Hermit's Hat, which is to the east in Rune.
Mm-hmm.
And the stranger's not like something to listen to him. He's still like kind of freaking out, and they have like a wizard battle. Him and the short-haired one, the shapeshifter, and she kind of does a lot of stuff to him that Saruman does to Gandalf and Fellowship of the Ring, like makes him spin around in weird fucking body formations or whatever, like. And like she throws him against a rock. she says to bind him, we will, you know, we'll release his mind from the veil or whatever. And that's when we see the Harfoots are there. They're watching this whole thing. And they see the three try to kind of tie him up to a tree, basically. And they come up with a plan to kind of separate him. So the mom runs off and makes an owl noise. Mm-hmm. And one of them's like, what the fuck was that? And she leaves. And they're like, okay, let's go get him. And it's like, well, there's still two there. It's like, better two than three. And like, I can't remember, did they just like, they just throw rocks and stuff at him and get him to go away? Because they leave. No.
Yeah, somehow they leave. But then it's not even the stranger, it's the shapeshifter.
Nora runs up and takes him down, and then his eyes turn white like the shapeshifter does.
Yeah, and I was wondering, like, how did the stranger get separated? And why did they leave him alone?
I think they knew that they were being followed, and they were going to try to get their followers out by using him as bait. But it's not really him.
Yeah.
So the stranger wakes up.
But I didn't see any indication that they noticed that they were being followed.
Well, they do all sorts of crazy shit that they have no indication. I didn't know they could be a shapeshifter to this episode either. But the stranger wakes up. He does this big, his big clap toward the ground like he did before with the wolves. Mm-hmm. And it knocks everyone down. And he gets in another wizard fight with the one with the short hair. And also during this whole process, Sodic, he gets stabbed with a flying blade in the stomach.
And really, it looks like that's the end right there, but he keeps going.
Yeah, he keeps going, and
for a little bit.
Yeah, and they're kind of. I think the other two are kind of going after the other Harfoots. Nori gets hold of one of the staffs, and it like tries to. Cathy is falling asleep, sitting right here. Mm-mm. Her eyes are like.
Dripping. I'm not. I'm awake.
They notice that. Or no, Nori's trying to give her the stranger the staff. I want to call him Gandalf so bad, but that's never established that he is Gandalf. Take the staff, and by this time, the one who made the fire earlier that I was critical of with the Harfoots and their caravans, she's now just blowing fire everywhere in the forest, and the forest is on fire. Stranger takes the staff. He puts out all the fire, and this is when he starts speaking like full sentences. Mm-hmm. He says, "To the shadow you came from, to the shadow I cast you back," or something like that. And this beam of light comes out of the staff, and it turns the three ladies into what look like ring wraiths, like when they're not in their black veils, like they're skeletal and they're glowing with white light, and he basically turns them into moths, and they fly away, which makes me think he's Gandalf too, because in the movie Gandalf talks to a little moth and sends it away when he's stuck on top of Saruman's tower.
Right.
So
I forgot about that.
Yep. So yes, before they get turned into bugs. They are like, that's not Sauron. That's one of the Istari, which are the wizards. The 5 wizards of Middle-earth.
Istari.
So when you go back to Aragon, oh, shit, we forgot something pretty crucial. During the proposal to Gil-galad about what to do about the crown with the alloyed mithril. Celebrimbor says we are on the verge of creating something not of the flesh, but over the flesh, or something like that. Something that was it. Anar was that his name?
Adar.
Adar. So I can't. Adar had said to Galadriel in episode 6, I think it was, when she was kind of interrogating him in the barn.
Mm-hmm.
And Galadriel hears that. And after the meeting's over, she's like, "Where'd you hear that from?" And Celebrimbor's like, "I don't know, one of my assistants, it doesn't matter now." Like, he's very flustered.
Yeah, he kind of blows her off.
Yeah. Which I don't know if that means that he was just very flustered that they got denied and they're going to have to leave, or that he's hiding something.
To me, it felt like he was hiding something, but maybe, I don't know why he would be.
Yeah.
So you're probably right.
But that Galadriel is very, very suspicious of this. She tells another little elf servant, to go into the archives of their information or whatever and find out the lineage of kings in the Southlands. And he does. And she tells him not to tell anybody. And then when we get back to Eregion, that elf has come back with a scroll, and she reads it and realizes there's no king in the Southlands.
Yeah, the last one died 1,000 years ago, and they had no heir.
Yes. And when she's reading this, she's kind of at the bank of a river in Eregion. Then Halbrand comes up to her and says, "Hey, we're so close to finishing this. Don't you want to see?" And she's like, yeah, sure. She's like, "But first you tell me who you are." She's like, "You know who I am." And she's like, she pulls out the scroll. She's like,
"There is no king.
There is no king. There hasn't been a king for 1,000 years.
So what's your name?"
What's your name?
And he was like, "Well, I did tell you I picked up that seal off a dead man."
Yeah, that's very key. And he says, "I've gone for many names." He says, "I was here before the first silence was broken, and I've gone by many names since then." And she tries to stab him with the knife, her brother's dagger. He blocks her, and this basically begins like a 10-minute long scene of her in her own head. It's kind of like it's revealed that Halbrand is Sauron at this point, and now he is manipulating her. This is one of Sauron's great powers. He is in her mind trying to get what he wants from her. Her first basic fantasy, I guess, is her back on Valinor. She sees her brother, and she's like, "I can't." First, she knows it's not real.
Yeah.
First thing she says is, "Get out of my mind."
Yeah.
But then she's very quickly falls into it, and she's talking to her brother Finrond, and he basically says, "I didn't go across the sea to fight Morgoth. I went across the sea for peace. And what you need to do is go back to where they're making the ring, or making the. Oh yeah, they decided not to make a crown. They're going to make 2 rings, is what they decided to do with the Mithril." He said, "You need to go and make sure that they finish the rings, and don't tell them about this." And that kind of flashes forward to her back on the raft with Halbrand.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, it's just kind of a back and forth between Galadriel and Sauron himself. He says that when Morgoth died, he had felt that as if someone's hand had been lifted from his throat, and that he was just here for peace. And he says he's trying to get it to so Galadriel would join him. And he shows her a reflection in the water, and he's in his Sauron looking fucking armor from the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, and she's I don't know. It's just a silhouette unless she's standing more confident or whatever. She's kind of like got her shoulders up and kind of her head arched back. But I forget, what did they say there in this part? Help me.
Right. He basically was like, well, you helped me get here, and you did all this stuff to help me get here, and the elves, they never wanted you anyway, and we're trying to send you away. And he was like, well, you can be my queen, and all this crazy
Yeah, she said some of the similar stuff that she says when Frodo tries to hand her the One Ring in Fellowship of the Ring, or I guess it was Fellowship of the Ring. It's like, be a queen, this blah blah blah. But the thing that he does say, like he's a deceiver. He fucks around with you. He says, "What are you gonna do when you go back and tell your elf friends that you bought Sauron to Eregion? That you bought Sauron here?" And she says something like, "What am I going to tell them what am I going to say when I tell them that I killed Sauron?" That's when her delusion ends. She finds that she's being pulled out of the water in the river that she was standing in earlier by Elrond, and she takes out her dagger and she puts it at his throat, and she thinks she's still in her delusion.
dream, yeah.
And she says, "Who are you?" She's like, "I'm Elrond." She's like, "Prove it."
And the last time she was in that setting, it wasn't with Elrond. It was with Halbrand.
Yeah,
So
Sauron. And he says, "This is where we first met." And she's like, "Okay, I trust you." And he's like, "Well," and that Halbrand's gone. Sauron's gone. And we get Galadriel coming back into the Celebrimbor's workshop with Elrond, and she has she does exactly what Sauron wanted, basically. She tells him to go through with it.
yeah, but then she was like, "Well, what? We're adding a third ring."
Yeah, she says, "We're not making 2, we're going to make 3. She says, one can be, what does she say? 1 can be corrupted, 2 can divide, 3 provide balance."
Mm-hmm.
And we do this for the elves, and the elves alone. And they make the 3 rings.
Mm-hmm. But they also said that they needed some of the purest silver and gold.
That's right. They need gold and silver
from Valinor.
From Valinor. And the only gold and silver they have in Valinor is
Finrod's sword.
Finrod's dagger.
Yeah, that Galadriel carries.
Yeah, so they melt it down, and yes. And another thing, I know we're forgetting shit left and right. There's a scene back in Numenor where the king is not in good health.
Mm-hmm.
He's dying, which I don't know why this makes such a big deal, because it seems like everyone knew the king was dead already, because they had him locked away in the tower. Like I didn't get all this. I thought it was basically known that there was a queen now. There is no more king. Am I wrong in that?
I thought that they thought that the king was dead and that she was the queen, and it was like a secret that he was still alive.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong about that. But that was the impression that I got.
That is not the case in this episode, because what's his butt? The guy with the crazy hair and the beard in Numenor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
He's I used to know his name. He's telling he's standing by the bedside of the king. He's got a few people there, including Elendil's daughter, who remained in Numenor. Isildur's brother,
Mm-hmm.
or sister.
She has a hard name. I remember.
That basically he's gonna die, and we bought all these artists and different people to come in. You get to spend an hour with them each day. You're gonna draw his visage, and we're gonna make a statue of it with these drawings and stuff. So we get a scene of Elendil's daughter. She's by herself with the king, and she's drawing him, and he starts to wake up and make noises, and she starts speaking like he's talking to his daughter, the queen, but she's like, I'm not the queen, not the queen. But he just keeps going and going, and she's yelling for help, and she runs to a door and yells for help, turns around, the king's gone.
Which was very surprising.
Yeah, but it turns out he just walked a few feet away.
Yeah.
And opened up the secret door, I guess. He basically opens up a door to some other old artifacts or whatever, and one of them is definitely going to be a Palantir. I can't tell if it's the same Palantir that Galadriel and the Queen touched in like episode 4 or 5, or whatever it was.
It probably is.
Remember they touched it and they saw the destruction of Numenor. But you see the girl walk up to it, and it's got the drape over it, and she pulls the drape and it's a quick cut. Mm-hmm. So that's the end of that with her, and we see Elendil and the Queen.
Yeah.
In the ship.
Yep.
And she's trying to learn how to walk while blind. And she's counting steps from like to the door to the stairs to the ship. And they basically have a conversation of like they are ones of the faith. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's fully explained. Maybe I missed it. I miss a lot of shit.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. The biggest thing I took away from that scene is like she's recognizing the toll that the loss of his son is having on him, and she was like, if you want to step down or whatever, that's fine. And he pretty much says no.
He says, I'm one of the faith, and my faith won't falter, basically. And you hear someone yell, Captain, Numenor's in sight, and they come up on the deck, and you can tell as soon as you see Elendil's face that he's not happy, and he's not saying anything. And the Queen's like, what do you see? What do you see? Tell me what you see. And what we do see is a lot of black banners of Numenor, which we learn from Big Crazy Bearded Man. That means that once the black banners go up, the king is dead. Mm-hmm. So the king has died in Numenor. And so we got the rings being made, got the Numenor's dead, King of Numenor is dead. Mm-hmm. The lady in the Palantir. Mm-hmm. Got Nori. Nori and Poppy and her mom come back to the camp with the stranger. Now the stranger is just full on having a conversation with Nori.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said, I gotta go to the room. That's where I gotta go. And Nori says something like, well, it sounds like you're going on another adventure. And he says, when you're alone, it's a journey. Adventures are meant to be shared. Mm-hmm. I was like, please come with me. And she notices that she said, I've had too many adventures for my time. And she walks away so he can go on his own. And when she gets back down to down the hill to her family and the rest of the tribe there, they have already made her a backpack. Like, you're getting the fuck out of here. Like, you're a bad luck lady.
Well, they didn't say it like that.
They didn't say it like that. But they have a backpack ready for her, saying that they know that this is probably what she wants. And, so they basically send her off to go with the mystery man. And he's like, which way should we go? And she's like, I have no idea. And they just start walking. And I guess they're heading to a room. The stranger says to always follow your nose, which is something Gandalf says to one of the hobbits. I can't remember which one in Moria. Follow your nose. But the episode basically ends with Halbrand, which we know now is Sauron. He is walking over some cliffs and stuff in Mordor. He sees Mount Doom off in the distance, which is still erupting. And he smiles and he walks further and he's got a big black cape now. And he's all evil looking. And
I can't believe he's Sauron.
that's how it wraps up. What do you think?
It was good. I did not expect Halbrand to be Sauron.
You didn't? I had heard that on some of the videos.
That's because you cheat.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a spoiler. It was someone saying it might be him, and it was he also said there was the stranger might be Sauron. Like he even said the fucking the lady one of the mean ladies in the Hobbits might be Sauron because she was mean. So he was just speculating all over the place. But
did he say Adar might be Sauron?
I don't know if I watched those rundowns of those episodes or not.
Okay.
I don't think I watched the rundowns of the first half of the episode, probably just the last half. But yeah, so that's the end of season 1. I don't know when season 2 is going to come out. I guess they just started working on it now as of the middle of October 2022. What do you think? Do you want more fantasy stuff?
Yeah.
What are you going to do now?
Watch She-Hulk.
That's not the same.
That's what I've been watching.
Watching this made me get excited about playing the new God of War game, which comes out in November.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's all Norse mythology, not really having anything to do with Tolkien, but I think it's going to be good. What do you think? Are you going to go fall asleep?
Probably.
You don't want to car pumpkins? You don't wait till you take a nap?
I don't know yet.
Cathy was like all gung-ho before we started. She's like, I'm going to record right now. Or we're going to car pumpkins. What do you want to do? I was like, what do you want to do? She's like, yeah, let's get recorded. Let's do it. And like, she's basically dead to the world right now.
Yep.
So what do you think?
What? About what?
The season overall, was it good?
It was good, yes.
You liked it?
Yes, I did.
You ready would you watch the next season?
Yeah.
Me too.
I would.
I like this good critical feedback you have here.
I like most things that I watch on TV, so
Ugh.
I don't know.
Don't say that. People never want to listen to you again. All right, well, that's it for season 1. Peace out, guys. You can say goodbye?
Yep. Goodbye.